These are the notes for Unit 10, B. We're going to take a look at graphing quadratics in vertex form. So first things first, we're going to have this general form. Now, it's a little easier to see down here in the actual formula with numbers, but we use these generic terms. H and K end up being the vertex of that parabola. So that's going to be where we're going to start. And A is my slope. Now, this isn't a linear slope, so the term slope is a little bit deceptive. But what we do to get points is we're going to do 1 times our A value, 3 times our A value, and 5 times our A value. We'll see what that looks like when we get to the graph. So in this first section, we're just going to practice a bit. So on this first one, I want to look at the A value. My A value is a -3. Now, a positive A value, I'm back up here now, means your parabola opens up. A negative A value means our parabola opens down. Okay, those are the only two varieties of parabolas we're going to graph in this unit. The vertex, because that H is minus, and if you look here, in this formula, this said minus H, and when I wrote the vertex, I wrote a positive H. So we're always going to take the opposite. So instead of -1, we're going to have 1, and then 2 is going to stay the same. Our axis of symmetry is a vertical line that runs through the x coordinate, so it's always going to be x equals 1. Those two are always going to be tied together. So these two are always going to be the same. And then my direction, the A value is negative, so this is a parabola that opens down. So you can use those ideas and try B and C real quick. You can pause the video, and once you're done, you can unpause it, and let's take a look at what we have. All right, so looking at B and C, there is my A value, 4. My vertex is at -5, -3. Again, change the x, but not the y. My axis of symmetry, this is actually wrong. This should be at -5. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that was right. My bad. I was looking at the A value comes here. And that opens up. In the next set, my A value is 3. Now, my vertex is a little tricky here. There is nothing inside of there. So you can see here I expanded that out. That's like x plus 0. So that's where I get the 0, 9. So it's not a 1, 9. It's a 0, 9. My axis of symmetry is x is equal to 0. And my direction, it opens up because the A is positive. All right, so those are just some identifying things. Now we're going to take some of those features and actually graph them. So here, my vertex is going to start at the opposite of H, so -3, -2. My axis of symmetry is at -3. This A value is a positive 1. I don't see anything in front of there, so that's going to open up. And then my slope pattern looks like this. We do a 1A, 3A, 5A. And the way that I'll write that is I'm going to do 1 times 1. So I'm going to do, I actually end up writing these like over 1, and you'll see why in a second. Because we're not counting this like a linear slope, we're counting it from point to point. Oops, that should just be a 1. All right, so I go to my vertex, -3, -2 is right there. I go up 1 to the right one. Up 3 to the right one, and then I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right one. That is one side of the parabola. Now, I'm going to use my axis of symmetry. If you remember back to Hoy-Vaux, x is equal to -3. That creates a vertical line through -3. And that axis of symmetry just allows me, I don't really even need to count these. I could just look at them. They need to be equidistant from that axis of symmetry. So when you do that, you'll notice you have those points kind of mirrored on one side and another. That's not a great parabola, so I want to fix that a little bit. So I get a nice curve here, and there we go. Now my orange line is not necessary. I'm not going to draw that all the time, but it does help to see like how those points, like this point right here has a twin on this side. This one has a twin on this side. This one has a twin on this side. So you end up with that nice parabolic shape. All right. If you want, you can kind of move through these videos if you think you got it and then double check your work, but I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly. We're going to have a vertex of +4, +1. You change the one inside. My axis of symmetry is at 4. This has a +1 as an A value, and my slope pattern is going to go 1 over 1, 3 over 1, and then 5 over 1. So we go to 4, 1, which is right here. We want to graph as many points as we can. We are not going to get that last point. So if I try to go up 5, if you don't have that point, don't create more coordinate plane. A minimum of 5 points is great. There we go. It's going up. Now let's see what happens when we have a negative a value. Again, the vertex, the opposite of plus 5, so negative 5, 8. My axis symmetry is just x is equal to negative 5. This is now going to open down because a equals negative 1. And then my pattern is going to go down 1, right 1, down 3, right 1, and then down 5, right 1. Okay, so that's how I count the right branch. And then we just mirror those points on the other side. So negative 5, positive 8. Whoa, we're right here. Now let's count that down 1, right 1, down 1, 2, 3, right 1, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 1. Okay, and then we can just mirror up those points. We're going to kind of run into the edge here. That's fine. We still have a parabola, right? So my parabola is going to look like this. We have a nice curve. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you should try to curve and get those points together. Finally, let's see what happens if we have something other than a positive or negative 1. My vertex is not going to change, so don't let those other numbers distract you. My vertex, axis of symmetry, everything stays the same. A is equal to positive 2, so we're opening up. Now we're just going to go 2 times A, or 1 times A, 3 times A gives me a 6, and then 5 times A gives me a 10. Okay, probably not going to get that 10. A lot of times we don't, but we'll see what happens. So over here, we start at 2, negative 7, so we're way down here. We're going to go up 1, 2 to the right 1. Then we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so you'll notice here, like I'm definitely not going to get that 10. We would be like way over here somewhere. I don't want to count off. So then we're going to go up 2 left 1 and then up 6 left 1. So what you see happening here when we draw our parabola is it gets a little bit narrower. Right, it's not quite as wide, right, compared to if I slide back up here, right, that one's a little bit wider. So the 2 just stretches out my points. So you can pause the video for a second and watch. I want you to try out 5 and 6. Identify the vertex and then figure out that counting pattern. When you're done, unpause it and let's see how we did. All right, so looking at these two, this one is going to be at negative 4, negative 5, and it is going to open up. So it's going to go 1, 3, 5. So you could see negative 4, negative 5. Over here, we're at negative 1, positive 7, and we're opening down. So we're going to go down 1, right 1, down 3, right 1, down 5, right 1. This should not look like, a V-shaped graph. It's not 1 over 1, 3 over 3, 5 over 5. That would just give you a straight line. So if you're not getting a straight line, we got to make sure that we're counting these correctly. All right, you can continue work on worksheet B. Thanks for watching the video.